Let me tell you about the day my wife challenged me to walk in her shoes for 72 hours. What she discovered in hour 73 left her completely barefoot in more ways than one. It was a Thursday evening when I dragged myself through the front door after 12 straight hours at the office. 3 emergency meetings, 2 system crashes, and a client presentation that nearly fell apart. My shirt was wrinkled, my tie loosened, and all I wanted was to collapse on the couch with a cold beer. Instead, I walked into what sounded like a one-woman theater production. "Oh my God, you have no idea what kind of day I've had," she announced from the kitchen, not even looking up from her phone. "I am absolutely exhausted." I loosened my tie completely and hung my jacket on the chair. "Rough day." She spun around dramatically, hand pressed to her forehead like she was auditioning for a soap opera. "Rough? Try impossible. I had to do 3 loads of laundry, answer some emails, and make lunch. My brain is fried." I glanced around the living room. 1 basket of laundry sat folded on the coffee table. Her laptop was closed on the kitchen counter, probably hadn't been opened since morning. The dishes from her lunch were still sitting in the sink. "Sounds busy," I said, heading to the refrigerator. "Busy? Busy." Her voice pitched higher. "Try overwhelming. You men have no clue what it's like to manage an entire household. You just sit in your comfortable office all day making phone calls." I paused, beer halfway to my lips. Sit in my office? I was in back-to-back meetings from 7 this morning until 6 tonight. Had to completely rebuild a project proposal because the client changed their requirements last minute. She waved her hand dismissively. "That's nothing compared to what I deal with here. Mental load, emotional labor, constant decision-making. You wouldn't last 5 minutes doing what I do." I took a long drink and studied her face. She was dead serious. "Look," I said carefully, "I'm not trying to minimize what you do, but I worked a 12-hour day today. Maybe we both had challenging days." That was apparently the wrong thing to say. She slammed her phone down on the counter. "Challenging? You think your little office problems compare to running a household? You have meetings, so what? I have to think about everything, plan everything, remember everything. The mental exhaustion alone would break you." I set my beer down. "Mental exhaustion from what exactly? You work part-time from home. I'm not seeing where the exhaustion comes from." Her face went red. "Part-time? Part-time? Managing this house is a full-time job plus overtime. But you wouldn't understand because you get to escape to your cushy office every day while I'm trapped here dealing with everything." The word trapped hung in the air. Trapped in a house she doesn't pay for, with bills I cover, doing what she calls work that takes her maybe 4 hours total. "Trapped," I repeated slowly. "Yes, trapped. And underappreciated. You have no idea what real work looks like." Something shifted in the room. She stood there glaring at me, arms crossed, waiting for me to apologize or back down. Instead, found myself genuinely curious about her logic. "Real work," I said. Interesting choice of words. Don't use that tone with me. I know what you're thinking. You think because I don't commute to some office building that my work doesn't count. Well, let me tell you something. She stepped closer, pointing her finger at my chest. "I challenge you. Right here, right now. You think you could handle my life? You think you could manage everything I manage? Are you serious?" "Dead serious. 72 hours. You do everything I do, handle every responsibility I handle, manage every detail I manage. And I'll take over your so-called difficult job." I stared at her. "You want to work my job for 3 days? Your easy job, yes. While you try to survive doing mine. When you fail miserably, maybe you'll finally understand what I contribute to this relationship." The confidence in her voice was staggering. She genuinely believed that my 12-hour workdays were easier than her part-time home routine. "And what happens when I don't fail?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, you'll fail. You'll be begging me to switch back by day 2. You have no idea what you're agreeing to." I finished my beer and looked at her standing there, so sure of herself, so convinced that her life was harder than mine. Part of me was insulted. Part of me was curious. But mostly, I was tired of this conversation that seemed to happen every few weeks. "Fine," I said. Her eyes widened slightly. She wasn't expecting me to agree. "Fine. 72 hours. Starting tomorrow morning. You handle my job, I'll handle yours. When it's over, we'll see who was right about who has the harder life." She recovered quickly, crossing her arms again. "You're going to regret this. You have no idea what you just signed up for." "We'll see." She smiled then, the kind of smile people get when they think they've already won. "Oh, we definitely will. I hope you're ready to eat some humble pie." I headed toward the stairs. "I'll start tomorrow at 6 a.m. That's when my day usually starts. 6 a.m. She followed me. Why so early? Because that's when your day starts now. You wanted to do my job, remember? I'm usually out the door by 7. The smile faltered slightly. Well, I don't have to follow your exact schedule. The challenge was to do each other's jobs exactly as we do them. Unless you want to back out already. I'm not backing out of anything. I just fine. 6 a.m. As I climbed the stairs, I heard her muttering behind me about how she'd show me what real exhaustion felt like. How I'd be crawling back begging for mercy before the 72 hours were up. I brushed my teeth thinking about her confidence. Her absolute certainty that she worked harder than I did. Her conviction that managing our household was more challenging than my job. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. What she didn't know yet was that I'd been paying attention. I'd been watching. I knew exactly how she spent her days, and I had a pretty good idea what the next 72 hours would reveal. But I was going to let her figure that out herself. The challenge was set. 72 hours to prove who really had the harder life. I had a feeling hour 73 was going to be very educational for both of us. 6 a.m. came fast. My alarm went off like every other weekday, but this time I wasn't getting dressed for the office. I was about to start day one of what my wife was convinced would be my humiliating defeat. I found her in the kitchen, dressed in one of my business shirts and a skirt I'd never seen before, holding a travel mug of coffee like it was a prop in a movie. Ready for your first day of real work? She asked with that same smug smile from last night. Ready. You. She straightened the shirt. Please. How hard can sitting in meetings be? I've been preparing for this mentally all night. I almost laughed. Preparing mentally. For a job she'd never asked me a single question about. What time will you be back? When the work is done. That's how real jobs work. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Don't wait up. And don't call me crying when you realize you can't handle this. The door slammed behind her with theatrical flair. I stood in the quiet kitchen and looked around. Her breakfast dishes were already in the sink. Her coffee mug ring stained the counter. A small pile of mail sat unopened by the fruit bowl. This was it. The beginning of her impossible workload that would supposedly break me. I made fresh coffee and started a mental inventory. Laundry basket upstairs. Dishwasher needed running. Floors could use a sweep. Her laptop sat on the counter with a few emails probably waiting. 7 a.m. In my normal world, I'd be walking into the office right now. Instead, I opened her laptop. 12 emails. 4 were newsletters she'd never bothered to unsubscribe from. 3 were promotional emails from stores. 2 were from her sister about weekend plans. 2 were actual work emails, both asking for simple file updates that would take maybe 10 minutes each. I knocked out both work emails in 15 minutes. 7:30. I started the dishwasher, moved the laundry to the dryer, and began a new load. The breakfast dishes were clean and put away by 8. 8:15. I vacuumed the main floor. 8:30. I wiped down the kitchen counters and organized the mail pile. 9 a.m. I was sitting at her laptop again, checking for any urgent emails. Nothing. I pulled up my work email on my phone and started handling the urgent items remotely. 3 client calls, 2 project updates, a contract review. Real work that couldn't wait just because I was home. By noon, I'd completed every household task I could identify, answered all her work emails, and managed half my actual job from the kitchen table. I made lunch and ate it while reviewing a proposal on my phone. 1 p.m. I looked around the house. Everything was clean, organized, maintained. The laundry was folded and put away. Her work inbox was empty. What exactly was supposed to be exhausting about this? I spent the afternoon handling my real job remotely while keeping the house maintained. Every hour or so, I'd walk through the rooms looking for something that needed attention. I reorganized one closet just to stay busy. 5 p.m., my phone rang. How's your impossible day going? Her voice had that tone people use when they expect you to admit defeat. Fine. How's the office? A pause. Challenging. Very challenging. I'm learning so much about what you actually do. Such as, meetings. Lots of meetings. And decisions. Important decisions. I waited for more details. None came. Where are you calling from? The office. Obviously. Where else would I be? Through the phone, I heard what sounded like music playing in the background. Soft, spa-like music. Sounds busy there. Oh, it is. So busy. I might be late tonight. This workload is intense. The music got louder for a second, then muffled, like she'd covered the phone. Take your time. I've got everything handled here. Everything? Really? She sounded skeptical. All your work emails answered. House cleaned. Laundry done. Dinner planned. Should I be overwhelmed by now? Silence. Well, it's only day one. Wait until tomorrow. Looking forward to it. She hung up without saying goodbye. I stood in the spotless kitchen, looking at my watch. 5:15 p.m. In my normal routine, I'd be leaving the office about now after a 10 or 11-hour day. Today, I'd finished her entire workload by noon and managed half my real job remotely. I started dinner prep, something she usually complained about having to do. 30 minutes later, a full meal was ready. 6:30, I heard her car in the driveway. She walked in looking slightly flustered, her hair a bit messy, that same business shirt now wrinkled. "How was your impossible day?" she asked, dropping her purse on the counter I'd just cleaned. "Educational. How was the office?" "Exhausting. You weren't kidding about the workload. I barely had time for lunch." I gestured around the kitchen. "Dinner's ready. House is clean. Your work emails are caught up. Laundry's done and put away." She looked around, and I watched her face change as she processed what she was seeing. "You did all of this today?" "Your daily workload, yes. Plus I handled about half my real job remotely." "Half your real job?" "Had to keep up with the urgent items. Couldn't let my clients down just because I was doing housework." She opened the refrigerator, closed it, opened a cabinet, closed it. Looking for something to criticize, something I'd missed. The bathroom upstairs. Cleaned. The closet in the guest room. Organized. My work emails. All answered. 2 actual work items, both completed. She sat down at the table, staring at the meal I'd prepared. "This is just day one," she said quietly. "Right. 2 more days to go." "How was your first day doing my job?" "It was learning curve. Steep learning curve, but I'm getting the hang of it." I sat across from her. "What kind of meetings did you have?" "Oh, strategic meetings. Planning sessions. Very important stuff." "With which clients?" A pause. "I'm still learning all the names. Don't want to get anyone confused." "What time did you get to the office?" "Early. Very early. Right after I left here." "And you've been there all day?" "All day. Working hard. Like you do." I nodded and took a bite of dinner. Through the window, I could see her car. The hood was cold. It had been parked here for at least 2 hours. "Tomorrow will be interesting," I said. "Yes. Tomorrow you'll start to feel the real pressure of managing everything I manage." I looked around the clean house, thought about the empty inbox, the completed laundry, the prepared meal. "I'm sure I will." She ate in silence, occasionally glancing around the room like she was looking for evidence that I'd failed somehow. After dinner, she disappeared upstairs. I cleaned the dishes and prepped for tomorrow. Day one of her impossible challenge was over. I'd completed her entire workload in 4 hours while managing my actual job remotely. She'd spent the day lying about where she was and what she was doing. 67 hours to go. This was going to be very interesting indeed. Day 2 started differently. I woke up at 6 to find a note on the kitchen counter written in her dramatic handwriting. "Emergency, early meeting. Had to leave at 5:30 a.m. Good luck today, you'll need it. Don't forget the dry cleaning pickup, grocery shopping, and the carpet cleaners are coming at 2 p.m. Also, dinner with my parents tonight at 7. Try not to mess everything up." I read it twice. Yesterday, she complained about my early schedule. Today, she was supposedly leaving even earlier for work she'd never mentioned having before. I checked my phone. No missed calls about carpet cleaners. No calendar reminders about dinner plans. Interesting. I made coffee and opened her laptop. 7 new emails overnight. 5 spam, 1 newsletter, 1 actual work request that would take 15 minutes. I handled the work email and started my morning routine. Load the dishwasher, start laundry, quick house walkthrough. 8:30, my phone rang. "How's your morning going?" Her voice had that fake sweetness that meant trouble. "Fine. Just getting started. Did you see my note?" I had to rush out for an emergency meeting, so I couldn't give you all the details in person. "I saw it. What's this about carpet cleaners?" "Oh, they called yesterday afternoon while you were busy. They'll be there at 2 sharp. Don't let them leave without cleaning the upstairs hallway too." "What company?" A pause. The usual company. The one we always use." We'd never use carpet cleaners. Our carpets were less than a year old." "Right. And dinner with your parents?" I confirmed it yesterday. 7 p.m. at that Italian place downtown. Don't be late. Her parents lived in another state. They hadn't visited in 6 months. Looking forward to it. Also, don't forget the dry cleaning. The ticket is somewhere around the kitchen. I looked around. No dry cleaning ticket anywhere. Got it. This is what I mean about mental load. So many details to track. I bet you're already feeling overwhelmed. Not yet. Well, the day is young. I have to go back-to-back meetings all morning. She hung up before I could ask which meetings. I stood in the kitchen holding my phone, processing what had just happened. She was testing me, setting up scenarios to make me fail, creating fake obligations and impossible tasks. Who could play that game? I called the main number from my office. Hey, could you transfer me to conference room B? My wife should be in a meeting there. Conference room B is empty today, sir. Has been all week for maintenance. How about conference room A? Also empty. Would you like me to check if she's signed in anywhere in the building? That would be great. 2 minutes later. No record of her accessing the building today, sir. Is everything all right? Everything's perfect. Thank you. I hung up and smiled. 11 a.m. I'd finished every legitimate household task and answered her one real work email. I used the extra time to handle my actual job remotely, taking care of 3 client calls and reviewing 2 contracts. Noon, my phone rang again. How are you holding up? Feeling the pressure yet? Still manageable. How's your meeting schedule? Packed. Absolutely packed. I barely have time to breathe. This job is so much more demanding than I realized. What's your biggest challenge so far? Oh, time management. Prioritizing. Making sure all the important things get handled properly. Such as, well, I can't really go into details. Confidential client information and all that. Right. Confidential information about clients she'd never met doing work she'd never seen. Makes sense. Speaking of details, I couldn't find the dry cleaning ticket. Silence. It should be by the coffee maker. I looked. Nothing there. Not seeing it. Checked the counter by the phone. Checked there too. Well, maybe I put it somewhere else. You'll have to look harder. What did we drop off for dry cleaning? Another pause. Your blue suit. And my black dress. My blue suit was hanging in the closet upstairs. Her black dress was in the laundry hamper. I'll keep looking. 1 p.m., I called a local carpet cleaning service. Hi, do you have an appointment scheduled for this afternoon at this address? Let me check. No, sir, nothing scheduled for today. I tried 3 more companies. Same answer. 2 p.m. came and went. No carpet cleaners. 2:30, my phone rang. How did the carpet cleaning go? They never showed up. What? That's impossible. I confirmed it yesterday. Which company did you call? The one in the phone book. The big advertisement. There are 12 carpet cleaning companies in the phone book. Well, one of them was supposed to be there. This is exactly what I mean about how stressful my job is. I can't be everywhere at once. Your job? Managing everything from the office. It's exhausting trying to coordinate home and work simultaneously. Where are you calling from right now? The office, obviously. What? Just curious. Sounds quiet there. It's lunch break. Everyone's out. Through the phone, I heard someone in the background say, "Would you like cucumber water with your facial?" She quickly muffled the phone. Sorry, that was the radio. Cucumber water on the radio? It's a health program. Very informative. Listen, I have to go. Big meeting starting soon. 3 p.m. I decided to drive by my office building. Her car wasn't in the parking lot. Wasn't on any of the surrounding streets. 4 p.m. I called her sister. Hey, is everything okay with your sister? She seems stressed lately. Stressed? She spent all morning at the spa with me and Mom. Seemed pretty relaxed. What? No reason. Just checking. Actually, she mentioned something about teaching you a lesson? Something about switching jobs? I didn't really understand what she meant. Thanks. That clears things up. 5:30, I heard her car in the driveway. She walked in looking like she'd spent the day at a spa. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup fresh, her skin glowing. Rough day at the office? I asked. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I don't know how you do this every day. It takes practice. Ready for dinner with your parents? Her face went blank. Dinner with, about that. They had to cancel. Last-minute emergency. What kind of emergency? Their dog got sick. Had to rush to the vet. Her parents didn't have a dog. That's too bad. Maybe next time. Yeah, maybe next time. She looked around the house, clearly disappointed that everything was clean and organized. Did the carpet cleaners ever show up? No. Seems there was some confusion about the appointment. Well, that's not my fault. I can't control other people's scheduling mistakes. Of course not. And the dry cleaning? Still looking for that ticket. You need to be more organized. This is exactly what I deal with every day. Other people's incompetence making my job harder. I nodded sympathetically. Must be exhausting. It is. And tomorrow will be even worse. I have meetings scheduled all day. Looking forward to hearing about them. She went upstairs to change, and I started dinner. Day 2 was ending exactly as I'd expected. Her sabotage attempts had failed because they were based on lies. Her fake obligations had fallen apart under basic scrutiny. Meanwhile, I'd completed her actual workload in less than 3 hours and managed my real job remotely. But the most interesting part wasn't what she was failing to do. It was where she was spending her time instead. Spa treatments, lunch dates, shopping trips, while claiming to work my demanding job. Tomorrow was day 3, the final day, and I had a feeling it was going to be very revealing for both of us. 43 hours down, 29 to go. Then we'd see who really understood what hard work looked like. Day 3 started at 5 a.m. I was awake before my alarm, curious to see what new impossible challenges she'd create. The kitchen counter held another dramatic note. Critical client presentation today. Left at 4:30 a.m. to prepare. Emergency grocery run needed. We're completely out of everything. Also, organized the entire basement storage room. Good luck surviving today. I checked the refrigerator. Fully stocked. Pantry full. Nothing needed from any grocery store. I made coffee and opened her laptop. 2 legitimate work emails that took 8 minutes to handle. By 9 a.m., I'd completed every actual household task that existed. Laundry folded, house cleaned, real work emails answered. The first time in 3 days, I had nothing left to do from her supposed overwhelming workload. So I decided to get productive with my time. I pulled up our joint credit card statements online. Just curious about these work expenses she'd been mentioning. Tuesday, the day she supposedly started my job. Serenity Spa, $180. Paradise Day Retreat, $95. Lunch at Romano's, $67. Wednesday, her second brutal day at the office. Westfield Shopping Center, $340. Nail Salon, $85. Coffee House, $23. Today was Thursday, her most challenging day yet according to this morning's note. I checked our bank app. A charge had posted 30 minutes ago. Bella Vista Resort and Spa, $280. My wife was currently getting a massage while claiming to be in a critical client presentation. I sat back in my chair and laughed. Actually laughed out loud. This whole challenge had been a setup. Not to prove she worked harder than me, but to justify her spending 3 days doing absolutely nothing while I handled both our responsibilities. But the most interesting part was how easy her actual job was. 3 days of her overwhelming workload had taken me a total of maybe 12 hours. The rest of my time had been spent managing my real job remotely and looking for problems that didn't exist. Her work-from-home routine that she claimed was so exhausting, I could complete it in my sleep. I decided to use the remaining time productively. I organized the basement storage room she'd mentioned, took 45 minutes. I deep-cleaned the garage. I even started a project she'd been asking me to do for months, organizing our photo albums. By noon, I'd accomplished more in 3 days than she typically did in 3 weeks. My phone rang. "How's your impossible day going?" The smugness in her voice was thick. "Almost done, actually." "Done? Already? But I left you so much to handle." "Grocery shopping completed." I wasn't lying. I confirmed we didn't need groceries. Task complete. Basement organized. Even got some bonus projects finished. Silence. What? What bonus projects? Photo albums organized, garage cleaned, kitchen deep scrubbed. Had extra time since your workload isn't quite as overwhelming as advertised. You're lying. Am I? How's your critical client presentation going? It's very intense. High-stakes negotiations. Can't really talk about it. Sounds stressful. Hope the spa atmosphere helps you focus. The line went dead. I looked around the spotless house. Every task completed. Every responsibility handled. Both my real job and her fake workload managed simultaneously. Tomorrow was hour 72, the end of her challenge. But I was already planning for hour 73, because I'd learned something important over these 3 days. Something that was going to change everything. Her life wasn't hard. It was practically non-existent. She'd been lying about it for months. Time to see how she'd handle the truth. Hour 71 arrived with the sound of her car pulling into the driveway. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, 3 days of evidence spread across the screen. She walked in looking refreshed and glowing, like someone who'd just spent 8 hours being pampered instead of 8 hours in business meetings. "So," she announced dramatically, dropping her purse on the counter. "Ready to admit defeat?" ready to acknowledge that you couldn't handle my impossible life. I closed the laptop slowly and looked at her. Actually, I'm more curious about your 71 hours. How was work today? Exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. 3 presentations, 2 crisis meetings, and a conference call with international clients that went until just now. She delivered this performance with the confidence of someone who believed her own lies. International clients. Impressive. Which time zones? Oh, different ones. Europe and Asia. Very complicated scheduling. And these meetings were where exactly? The office, obviously. Where else would they be? I opened my laptop back up and turned the screen toward her. That's interesting. Because according to our credit card statements, you've been somewhere else entirely. Her face went pale as she stared at the screen showing 3 days of spa treatments, shopping sprees, and restaurant charges. Those charges. I can explain. Tuesday, Serenity Spa, $180. Paradise Day Retreat, $95. Romano's Restaurant, $67. She sat down heavily in the chair across from me. Wednesday, Westfield Shopping Center, $340. Nail Salon, $85. Coffee House, $23. Those were work expenses. Business meetings at those locations. Business meetings at a nail salon? Networking. Very important networking. I scrolled down to today's charges. And today's critical client presentation apparently happened at Bella Vista Resort and Spa. $280 for what looks like a full-day package. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again like a fish gasping for air. I needed to decompress from the stress. This job is incredibly demanding. What job exactly? Because I called the office. You haven't been there once in 3 days. The color drained completely from her face. You called. Hour 12 of day 1. Asked them to transfer me to your meeting. They said you'd never signed in. There must be some mistake. I called your sister too. She mentioned spending Tuesday morning at the spa with you and your mother. Funny how that lines up with your business meeting schedule. She stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. This isn't fair. You're checking up on me like I'm some kind of criminal. I'm checking up on someone who challenged me to prove who works harder. Turns out the answer is pretty clear. I turned the laptop back toward me and pulled up another screen. Want to know what I discovered about your impossible workload? I don't want to hear this. Day 1, completed all your actual work in 4 hours. Day 2, 3 hours. Day 3, 2 hours. Your overwhelming job responsibilities that would supposedly break me? I finished them each day before lunch. That's not. You don't understand the mental load. The mental load of what? 8 legitimate work emails in 3 days? 2 loads of laundry. Basic housekeeping that takes less time than my morning commute. She spun around, pointing at me accusingly. You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you've figured everything out. I think I've figured out enough. I stood up and walked to the counter where I'd placed a folder. Like the fact that while I was managing both your responsibilities and mine remotely, you spent over $800 on spa treatments and shopping. Her eyes went wide. $823 to be exact. In 3 days. While supposedly working my demanding job, I opened the folder and pulled out printed bank statements. Want to see the pattern from the last 6 months? Every Tuesday and Thursday, regular charges at spas, restaurants, shopping centers. All during your work-from-home hours. You investigated me? I investigated someone who claimed I couldn't handle her life for 72 hours. Turns out you barely have a life to handle. She grabbed the edge of the counter, her knuckles white. This challenge was supposed to teach you respect for what I do. It did teach me something. It taught me that what you do is nothing. The words hung in the air like a slap. Nothing. Nothing productive. Nothing valuable. Nothing that contributes to this household or relationship. I walked back to the table and sat down. 71 hours of your challenge are complete. 1 hour left. Ready to hear what I learned. Hour 72 had passed. The challenge was officially over. She stood by the kitchen window, staring out at nothing, probably hoping I'd forgotten about hour 73. I hadn't. So, I said, checking my watch. Your 72-hour challenge is complete. Time for the results. She turned around slowly, her face a mixture of defiance and dread. You survived. Congratulations. I guess we both learned something. We did. But I don't think you're going to like what I learned. I stood up and walked to the center of the kitchen, where I had a clear view of her face. You challenged me to walk in your shoes for 72 hours. You were convinced I'd fail, that I'd come crawling back begging for mercy, finally understanding how hard your life really is. And And I discovered something fascinating about your shoes. She crossed her arms defensively. What's that supposed to mean? Your shoes don't actually go anywhere. I pulled out my phone and started reading from my notes. Tuesday, spa shoes. Walked you to a 2-hour massage and facial. Wednesday, shopping shoes. Walked you through 3 different malls and a nail salon. Thursday, resort shoes. Walked you to an all-day pampering package. Her face was getting redder with each word. But work shoes? The shoes that walk to actual responsibilities? Those shoes don't exist in your closet. That's not fair. Fair? Let's talk about fair. You spent $800 in 3 days while pretending to work my job. Meanwhile, I completed your entire workload in less than 10 total hours while managing my actual career remotely. I walked closer to her. You know what's really unfair? Calling someone lazy while you're getting massages. Complaining about being overwhelmed while you're shopping. Acting like a victim while you're living like a queen. I work hard too. Doing what exactly? Because I spent 3 days looking for this mysterious hard work you do. All I found were spa receipts and shopping bags. She backed up against the counter. Managing a household is real work. What household management? I did everything you supposedly do in 4 hours a day. For hours. While working my actual job. You couldn't even fake working mine for 1 full day. I pulled out the folder of bank statements again. 6 months of this pattern. Every week. Hundreds of dollars spent on yourself while I work 12-hour days to pay for it all. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. For the first time in months, I'm being completely honest. I walked to the kitchen table and picked up a manila envelope I'd placed there earlier. You wanted to put me in your shoes. Mission accomplished. I now know exactly what it feels like to walk in shoes that go nowhere productive. What is that? This is what happens when someone finally gets tired of carrying dead weight. I opened the envelope and pulled out a set of papers. Divorce papers. Filed this afternoon while you were getting your massage. The color drained from her face completely. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Just like you were when you issued your 72-hour challenge. This is insane. Over a stupid bet. Over discovering who I'm really married to. Someone who lies about working while spending my money. Someone who creates fake challenges to justify doing nothing. Someone whose biggest accomplishment this week was a 3-day spa vacation. I set the papers on the counter between us. You challenged me to walk in your shoes for 72 hours. Congratulations. I learned they're completely useless. Please, we can work this out. Work what out? Your imaginary job? Your pretend responsibilities? Your fake contribution to this marriage? I walked toward the door. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to learn what real work looks like. You're going to find an actual job that requires actual shoes to walk to actual responsibilities. Where are you going? To a hotel. To think about whether someone who's been lying to me for months deserves a second chance. I stopped at the door and turned back. Oh, and about your shoes metaphor? You wanted me barefoot and humiliated, proving I couldn't fill them. Instead, I discovered you've been barefoot this whole time. Not because you took your shoes off to work harder, but because you never put them on in the first place. This isn't over. You're right. It's not over. It's just beginning. You're about to learn what it's like to actually walk somewhere that matters. I opened the door. Your 72-hour challenge taught me something valuable. I don't need someone who walks in circles. I need someone who walks beside me. Wait. Hour 73 is over. The real challenge starts now. Good luck finding shoes that actually fit a working person. I walked out, leaving her standing in the kitchen she'd never really maintained, holding papers that proved what she'd never really contributed. She'd challenged me to walk in her shoes. I discovered she'd never been walking at all.